Welcome to the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. This is the source for all things high adventure for scouts, scouters, and anyone else interested in promoting high adventure trips for our youth. You can find all kinds of great high adventure options for your scouts at highadventurescouting.com. We are constantly updating the list of cool trips, and we want your input on your best trip. Welcome, high adventure enthusiast. We're excited, as always, to highlight a high adventure base on this edition of the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. Now, today we're joined by Steve Nelson, Director of Camping for Philmont Scout Ranch. Now, Steve, thanks for joining us today on the High Adventure Scouting Podcast.
Rob, thanks. I know we've talked about this for a couple of months. I'm glad we were able to work it out and that I'm able to be here with you today.
That's all right. There are some people I worked with for a year, and we finally got around to it and got our schedules coordinated. So not bad. Now, on this podcast, we usually highlight council bases that most people don't know about. But in this edition, we're going to be talking about Philmont. And most people know about the traditional 7, 9, and 12-day treks. That's what most troops look towards. But there are quite a few other programs that, frankly, I don't know much about all of them. So we're just gonna jump right into those and just kind of see what other options there are at the ranch, because it's a beautiful place to go. I was there, been there a couple times, and once you get done with your trek and think about, well, that wasn't so bad. After you get back, you want to go back. So, I think I'll probably start with Rayado. That's the one I know about the most, and we'll just kind of work our way down, and you can kind of tell me, what it is, how old do you have to be for these kind of programs,
Sure.
and how many do you take each season? That kind of stuff that I think is real helpful to scout leaders.
Sure. I appreciate that. And I like starting with Rayado because it's one of my all-time favorite programs that we have here at Philmont. I actually learned about Rayado when I was a scout executive of council in Idaho, and I had a young lady who came down and participated in Rayado and came back. She was 16, I think, at the time, and told me that this was just the best experience that she ever had. She went on to be the Western Region Venturing President and then National Venturing President. And she said Rayado was the experience that gave her this leadership. But, you wouldn't think of it as a leadership experience if you read the kind of the introduction and things that are on our website, because it's a 21-day backpacking experience that we have young people come on. You have to be 15 years old by the start of the program and not yet 21. So 15 through 20 is the age group, and we organize the participants into provisional crews by gender, male and female. And then we have 2 rangers that accompany them on this trek. And in the beginning, the rangers are with the crews quite a bit, but as they go along, they have more opportunities to do some things. The rangers are always close by. And so it's about backpacking, of course, because we're at Philmont Scout Ranch, but it's really about how that group can come together and overcome challenges that happen in group dynamics. And one of the things that we talk about in Rayado is expect the unexpected. And so we don't give a lot of the details about what it is that happens on the Rayado Trek, but expect the unexpected of what that might be, and then be prepared to go hike 21 days through all of Philmont Scout Ranch. I mean, all of Philmont Scout Ranch.
Yeah. We ran into a couple crews on the trail, and we asked our guys, we said, well, would that be something you guys want to do? And by day 9, they're like, no. but I the year after you go back, you're like, that's not as bad. So yeah.
Well, we have a lot of folks who come and have that experience, and you talk to people who've gone through Rayado or the predecessor Kit Carson Men, and it literally life-changing experience for those people who go through the program, because because of the closeness of their friends that they make when you spend 21 days going through whatever challenges, rain, snow, wind, cooking, doing dishes, all of those things. You just become real close with everybody that you hike with, and it's a fantastic program. And you're looking for people who have done some backpacking, have a little bit of experience, know how to do that. Um, so it's an unbelievable program to participate in. One of my favorite ones that we do.
Well, that's awesome. How many? Is there a kind of a limit that you
Yeah,
guys have
we're
on this program?
looking. We try to run six men's crews on each session, and four women's crews on each session. We have two sessions. June 20th and July 20th are the start dates, but and then the crew size, we don't necessarily want to go to 12, but it can be, 7 or 8, and then with the rangers along with them as well.
That's you would definitely get to know the other people in the crew if you're 21 days. That's quite a while. So
That's exactly
awesome.
right. Yeah.
Well, where do you want to jump in next? I'll kind of let you take the pick of
Um,
the other programs.
well, let's talk about the other program that is similar length,
Mhm.
and that's the Roving Outdoor Conservation School,
Okay.
the ROCS program. So this is another one of those great experiences. Uh, and the ROCS folks will tell you that this is a 22-day program. Kind of works out to be about the exact same 21 days, but they try to start it a little bit earlier than Rayado, so that there's a little competition there. But that's kind of what we do. 16 years of age and not 21, so a year older in this program. And really, this program is about really getting hands on in environmental science, conservation, everything about the outdoors, land, flowers. They have environmental educators that will meet this crew as they're backpacking through all of Philmont. And they'll spend a day talking about stream hydrology and what things we can do to help better our stream environment, what we can do to improve fisheries. We can talk about, they'll do conservation projects on forestry, meadow encroachment, just amazing experience for someone who really has that outdoor um, desire to learn about nature. This is a trek that just really fits to them and gives them an amazing experience. I had a niece that did this program a few years ago, and she just talked and talked and talked when she came back. And again, we also use these programs to be able to help us recruit staff. So a lot of our environmental educators and those people working in conservation department have come through the ROCS program. Same with Rayado. That we hire a lot of rangers out of that program, but because of the great experience that they get to have, and I think of some of those young people who have a desire to, maybe go into forestry, environmental science, botany, etc. That this is a real great learning experience for them to have, to spend that much time with people that have the same interests and with educators that are prepared to give them a really solid experience. Um, and these sessions are ran as co-ed crews, so we'll have male and female advisors. Could be a co-ed group on the trail. Most of them have been gender specific, but we do allow them to be co-ed. And our groups are generally we're talking somewhere between 8 and 20 for each crew, each session, and we have 3 sessions during the summer.
Yeah, we ran into one of those groups also, and they kind of talked to us about what they, why they're there, what they're doing, and most of it they're interested in outdoor environmental, and that's kind of what they talked to us about, and that's really what they wanted to do, and that they didn't seem to. It seemed like that this was not so much a chore. It was a kind of a vacation.
Well, and they're so passionate about what they're doing and what they want to learn. And again, that opportunity to make lifetime friends in a backpacking experience like this is incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I don't know. We could
Let's
kind of go through either OA or Cavalcade next, and just kind of go from there. But depends on what
uh,
direction you want to go.
yeah, let's go and talk about the Order of the Arrow Trail Crew Trek and the Trail Crew Trek,
Right.
and we can kind of do those together. So these, because they're very similar programs. The Order of the Arrow Trail Crew Trek and the Trail Crew Trek is a 14-day program. Um, and the first week that they're at Philmont, they're going to be working on building trail and building or maintaining the trails of Philmont. Miles and miles of trails here across the ranch. And this is an opportunity for them to learn about taking care of and maintaining those trails. It really, if you go back in the history, it started as a trail crew trek many years ago. And then back about 94, 95, they created this program of the Order of the Arrow Trail Crew Trek, which then kind of took over from that. And the Order of the Arrow got very engaged in it. It was going to be a 1-year program, and now here we are 25 years later, still running that great program. And 16 is the age that we want them to be. And we'll run each session, we'll run 3 or 4 crews for each one of those sessions. And the great thing about the Order of the Arrow Trail Crew Trek is the staff that are running this program are members of the Order of the Arrow. Many of them are lodge section, even national officers that are part of that are also trained in building trail. So, and right now they're working on the trail going up Mount Phillips. And if you've ever hiked Mount Phillips, Rob,
Yes.
the
Yes, I
current
have.
trail coming from Clear Creek is
We went the other
straight up.
way. We went down. So I went. We looked at that. We said, "Well, we were glad we weren't going up from there. That's a rough trip."
Yeah, and we'll have a brand new trail that'll be done here. They'll be really close, probably at the end of this next summer, with that trail. And they've been working on it for a couple of years. But there's several trails across the ranch that have been built by the OATC. So they spend the 7 days working on the trail, and then they spend 7 days hiking through the backcountry. And the cool thing about it is that they set up their own. They choose their itinerary. Where do you want to go? How many miles do you want to walk? And off they go. And most of the time, by this stage, they're ready to go hike some serious miles, and they do put in a lot of miles. And at the same time, the OATC, the Order of the Arrow Trail Crew, is learning and sharing ideas about the Order of the Arrow and how they can strengthen their lodge and the brotherhood back home. So it kind of ties that together. And I love the program. I think it does some great things. I know when I was in local council, we had a trend of sending someone every year to come and participate in OATC, and it worked out very well. And then you go to the similar program, Trail Crew Trek, similar type of program, except that it's open for whoever wants to come. You don't have to be a member of the Order of the Arrow, and you can come and have that same type of experience. And where they may be talking about the Order of the Arrow and in Strengthen Your Lodge, they're talking about how to the engineering of building trail, how do we set that trail up so it's going to be easiest for people to hike and it's going to last a long time without eroding away. There's then brings in the environmental part of that and the engineering part of it that they may not necessarily get in the OATC. So they get the similar experience, but designed in different ways so that we can hit both types of audiences. And again, you got to be 16, and we generally run 1 or 2 crews of Trail Crew Trek at a time. And the second week they're off having a super trek across Philmont, hiking a lot of miles and enjoying the trails that they have just spent a week helping to build as well. Again, maybe I'm biased here, Rob, but I really love all the programs we do.
We all know the major high adventure bases around the country, and they offer some awesome programs. Have you been searching for a cool alternative from your typical high adventure trip? As a scout leader, I want to give our scouts some great alternatives. You need to check out highadventurescouting.com. You'll find information on over 30 different council high adventure bases in 24 states. Maybe you're looking for a do-it-yourself option and need some ideas. Maybe you've taken a great trip and you want to share your good fortune with your fellow scouts and scouters. Just send us the details and we'll publish your trip. Whatever your interest, highadventurescouting.com is the one-stop shop for all things high adventure. That's highadventurescouting.com. Well, I would expect you to be biased. That's kind of why you're in this position, and I would be too if I was in that. I were in that. So, well, let's jump to the STEM trek, and I know even less about the STEM trek than I do any of the rest of them. So.
Yeah, and the STEM trek is, we've only had this probably, I'm guessing 5 or 6 years. I don't know exactly when that started, but it was really, it might even be longer than that. You know how it is when you start thinking about time.
I do.
Maybe 10 years that we've been doing this, but it was really designed to give an outdoor classroom for participants to come on a provisional basis, to be put into a crew and then go out and spend regular size trek, 12 days, a 12-day trek. But the whole time while you're out, you're talking about science, technology, engineering, and math, and how we put that into an outdoor environment. And every one of our backcountry camps has a STEM instruction part that they can do for the camp. So like a rock climbing camp is going to talk about the angles of a rope and how much stress you put on a rope and how you can lift weights easier with pulleys, etc. So they have that opportunity to learn from a science standpoint of all of these things that we kind of take for granted, I guess, as we're hiking across the backcountry by ourselves. But then from a historical standpoint, looking at what miners or loggers went through and the enormous amount of science that went into the things that they did in cutting trees and how they cut the trees and how they would put the angles in to fall the tree the way they wanted, and how that all really is science and math that perhaps a young person didn't realize as they were just going through the program as a regular person. So they bring all that education part out of it. It's been a real successful program. We wish it would grow a little bit more, and we'd have more participants in that. We've generally are having one crew for each one of the 3 sessions that we run during the summer. It is the age on this is the youngest of the individual treks that we run. So you can 14, just like our other regular treks. That age is that same. So. I think it's one of those things that's kind of people don't know enough about, and if parents knew that here's an opportunity to have my young person who's very excited about STEM and do it in an outdoor environment with educators that are amazing and understand kids and are able to share with them and teach them in a way that they may not have the same opportunity in a regular classroom. So I like this program a lot as well.
Exactly. Anything to get everybody outside. That's just I want everybody in the environment and having a good time outside. So, the last 2 main kind of programs that I look at are more equestrian horse related. The Cavalcade and the Ranch Hands Trek. I'll let you choose which one you want to jump into, or both at the same time.
So let's talk Cavalcade. So this is not an individual program. This is a crew would sign up and come on a cavalcade, and the size of the crew can be 10 to 15, including the adults. So it can be a little bit larger than a regular trek, more than the 12, but got to have at least 10. Ages are the same as for our regular treks. They do have to have 2 adults that are going to be with each one of the crews, just like the number, leadership, and sizes of our regular crew experiences. And then they're going to go on an 8-day horseback experience through the backcountry. Similar to any trek that we do at Philmont, they're going to be They're going to be riding on some of the same trails, or some roads that we have that are set up just for them, and then they'll go to a backcountry camp and participate in backcountry program, just as if you were hiking there, except for they're sitting on the back of one of our great horses that we have here at Philmont. And that ranching part of that dates back to the Wade Phillips days of Philmont Scout Ranch, of being a ranch and horses being a big part of what he did and what we do here. One of the requirements is that there is like all of our horseback rides, there's a 200-pound weight limit for all riders, that they need to meet that limit. And then you prepare for this differently. You have to, the gear that you're going to bring is going to be a little bit different than what you're going to bring, because you got to fit it into saddle packs, and everybody gets one bag that they're going to fill full of their personal gear, and then they're going to put on a saddle horse. And so that's a different experience. And perhaps though it's an easier deal than hiking, easier physically than hiking the trail. But I've ridden a horse for a while,
I was going to say it's not that's a different kind of muscle group you're using, but it's
exactly.
still exhausting if you don't do it very often.
Yeah. And we've got some videos on our website that talk about how to prepare and how to pack for a cavalcade, and then we have itineraries just like we do for normal treks, and they choose itineraries, north or south, and there's 3 or 4 different choices for each one of those, and so that's a crew, and that's decided by a lottery, just like our regular hiking program. And then the next step in that is our ranch hands program, which a young person can come individually, and they get the opportunity to work with our cattle department, our horse department, and and they're working right alongside of them, and they do that for a week, and then they go on a cavalcade as the ranch hands, immediately after that week of working. And those ranch hands, they'll live in a bunkhouse, next to where our staff are. They'll be up, jingling the horses and feeding the horses, and taking care of them, and which is scooping up manure and all those kind of things that you do when you have animals, and learning all about what our wranglers and our horsemen participate in, and then they get to go on a cavalcade as well. So, and we hire a lot of our wrangler and horseman staff come out of the ranch hands program. So it's another one of those tools we use to help us to recruit staff. Great program, very successful for us. Been around for quite a while, and it's very exciting for us.
Well,
And
that's
and Rob,
interesting.
I wanted to mention a couple other programs that don't necessarily run out of camping, but are still very, very,
Sure.
very good. They're ran out of our Philmont Training Center. The NAIL program is one, National Advanced Youth Leadership Experience, which is from a local council. It's the step up from NYLT.
Exactly.
So the national, what I would say in my term, a National Junior Leader Training Program. And this is held down at Rayado Ridge, down Rayado, and leadership training for young people to go through and have learning leadership skills like they learned in NYLT, but the next step above that. Bob Gates, who was the national president of the Boy Scouts of America, but also Secretary of Defense and head of the CIA, says the very best training that he ever took as he was growing up was coming to Philmont and going through the National Junior Leader Training Program, and now we call it NAIL. And personally, this is the experience that brought me to Philmont the first time, and really set my path on the ability to be a leader. And I love this program. It's a great thing that I encourage people to look at. And then two other ones that the training center run. One is called Sneak Peek. We started this a couple of years ago because we had people who were not prepared to come to Philmont and do a trek, but they wanted to have that Philmont experience. So they come to the Philmont Training Center and they're guided by a ranger. They do shakedowns by a ranger. They go on a couple of day hikes, and then they do a 2-night overnight hike. And it's just to prepare people to hopefully come back and do a regular trek. And that's called Sneak Peek from the Philmont Training Center. And the last one was one that we had enormous success with last year. It's called the Zia experience. Zia, of course, here in New Mexico is on our state flag and an important part of New Mexico. But we set up this program for young people who may have disabilities and can't do, physically could not do a trek, and we give them an experience to come out and have that Philmont experience, and we adapt things to help them experience as much as Philmont that we can. There's a great video on our Facebook page of young people who may have been in a wheelchair and are going up the Cope course. It's really a touching program, and I'm really excited that we've started that. Those are run out of the training center, but terrific experiences at Philmont.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned those, because those weren't things that I noticed, and now that I'm looking on the training center site, I'm seeing those programs listed. So
Good.
that's cool. Now, one thing I didn't even have on I didn't listen until we started talking was it is not necessarily a program that a unit or individual is going to do while they're a scout, but you mentioned that a lot of these, especially Rayado and some of the other programs and ROCS and so on, really sometimes lead to having your rangers who work with
Right.
the units. And we had an excellent ranger on our last trip, and made the trip much better. And so, briefly, just talk about what those who haven't been to Philmont probably don't know. What's a ranger? What do they do? And just briefly, kind of give an overview of the type of kind of age limit, type of person that comes there. Not necessarily always a scout, but with good experience. So,
Sure, thanks. So, and we have a whole variety of staff positions that we hire here. We hire somewhere around 1,300 seasonal staff members for our operation. And probably the one that people most are aware of is the ranger position, which, we're looking for an outgoing, dynamic teacher type of person, somebody who can talk to other people, but not is ready to share experiences. And we're looking for someone who's going to have an outdoor experience. They understand, and maybe that they've not been scouts, but they have been in the outdoors and doing backpacking or camping in on their own programs. And then we hire about 250 rangers for our summer program. So it's our largest department on the ranch, and we go to a variety of colleges to recruit them, as well as through the programs like Rayado and ROCS that we recruit staff there. And while we're talking about staff, there's a variety of other experiences. You think of every one of the backcountry camps that you went to, there is a staff at that camp. Some of those living history camps are people who are history majors or have a desire to share that experience. But you've got the rock climbing guys and the mountain bike types that work at our different backcountry camps, and we're in the middle of hiring our seasonal staff right now, and we've got tremendous applicants, but we are always looking for that super great person who's going to make a difference in the lives of other people. And then that Philmont staff experience. People often say that our staff members they come the first time they come because of the mountains of New Mexico, but when they return, it's because of the people and the friends that they make while they're here. So that's some great experience. Thanks for letting me share that.
Well, I will tell you that our ranger just made the trip. Just started out. We knew a lot already, but it was getting to know him and our guys. They thought he walked on water, and
Hmm.
he wasn't that much older than our guys. Our guys were 17, and he wasn't that much older. But it was neat to have that experience. I was glad that we had the person we did. So. Well, I don't think we've left anything out on the kind of these alternate programs. We've kind of gone through everything.
Yeah.
But say, Steve, I want to thank you for joining us today on the High Adventure Scouting Podcast.
Thank you very much, Rob. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Now, I want to thank Steve Nelson, Director of Camping at Philmont Scout Ranch, for joining us today. You can get more information on their programs at philmontscoutranch.org. That's philmontscoutranch.org. All the information on all the treks, lots of videos can be found out there. So any questions you have, it's probably on the website. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to tell your friends about this podcast. You can find us online at highadventurescouting.com, on Facebook or Instagram. If you have any questions or ideas for future podcasts, just email us at info@highadventurescouting.com. This podcast and website are independent and not affiliated with any youth organization. Happy High Adventure! This has been a production of High Adventure Resources.